Hey travel dudes, it's Scott and Janneke.
And we are biking in Denmark.
Thought we could start in North Sealand, which is known as the Danish Riviera, and it's really close to Copenhagen, so we can head up there and check out some of the biking routes first. This is Kronborg Castle, which was built by Frederick II in the late 1500s.
It used to be a fortress for over 400 years and is now listed at UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's one of the finest Renaissance castles in the Northern Europe. So if you climb the 145 steps, you get to the viewpoint, and here you can see a fantastic view over the courtyard, the castle and the Riviera up the coast, and then you have a great view to Sweden, which is just over here. We just arrived at Esrum Abbey, which is from 1151 and is located in the middle of the Royal North Sealand National Park.
This model here shows how the whole area used to look, and this building right here is the one behind me. Now you might recognise the bricks because, wait, let me show you. So all the buildings surrounding this one were made in this style, and when they were knocked down they were used to build local castles, including Kronborg Castle that we just went to. Just arrived in a beautiful little fishing town called Gilleleje, where everything is within walking distance from everything else and you can truly unwind and relax.
Just by the harbour, there's an old town with traditional fishermen's houses from the mid-1700s.
Now we're at Faaborg, right by the seafront, and we've just ordered some fresh fish. This is rospata, which is plaice from the local fishermen.
So next, let's go to Fyn and check out some of the culinary routes.
Hello travel dudes, we're cycling in Fyn, which is an archipelago with over 1,200 kilometers of bike routes and a big variety of terrain.
There's a huge focus on local food, and there's 5 culinary routes that you can follow with your bike.
The Fyn area has 90 different islands, 13 of which are inhabited.
The area's got 123 castles and mansions, and it's a true biker's paradise with lots of biking routes all over the island.
Our first stop is Skahapura Winery, which is the perfect place to stop for a drink or something to eat. Now, did you know that they actually produce wine right here in Denmark? In fact, we just walked around the vineyard next door. So, let's try the wine.
Here in Fyn, they have 5 culinary routes that you can follow by bike. So you can go with chocolate, you can go with beer, with wine, or with honey. And then you have this most exciting one, which is distillery, and I'll leave it up to Scott.
That's right, Jannica. Yes, we've come to Nyborg Distillery, and I'm going to tell you a bit about the history because this place is fascinating. So, actually, it's owned by a brewery which is right across the way, just over there. The brewery is called Roerbaek, and they started off by making beer and these organic sodas. And ironically, the organic soda was what they started with, and they did this for years without really making it that successful. Then came along the beer. This beer, which I've just had some of, is delicious and started to do very well in Denmark. Then they developed some money, and then because they started this in 1986, the organic soda started to do quite well. I guess due to the times and things changing, this is now a massive hit worldwide and funds this distillery. So in effect, the owner started this place as a hobby to try and emulate the Irish and the Scottish whiskies in different situations. So we've just had a fantastic tour and we've tried rum and whiskey, and they are delicious, but the special one, the pièce de résistance, is the Lost Pilgrim, which is actually by the main guy here called Kim. And there's a really interesting bit of history there, so it reminds him of his own pilgrimage along the El Camino Way. And it's really in your face, it's a really in your face kind of whiskey, and we've just tried it. And I found that a really interesting, fascinating history, and I definitely recommend you come here.
Along the coastside of Fyn, there are a lot of these really beautiful seaside cities where you can feel the real maritime Danish atmosphere. Faaborg is just one of them.
One of my favourite things about this town is the slower pace of life and the relaxed atmosphere. In the town centre you'll find these lovely old buildings and houses, and it's also a market town. This is Castle Egeskov, one of the most beautiful Renaissance buildings in Europe. It has this moat, it has a knight's hall, and there's lots of history behind these walls.
Surrounding the castle, there's this big, beautiful garden, perfect for a romantic picnic.
We've taken a day trip to the island of Ærø, which is a narrow island in the middle of the Baltic Sea. It has a number of towns with pretty painted houses and cobbled streets and a lot of beaches to explore.
Ærø is known for its beautiful beach huts, originally built as ladies' changing room, but are now really attractive properties. Here's a fun fact for you travel dudes. All over Denmark, we've been passing by these fruit stands where they sell fruits and vegetables, and it's all self-service. So you just take what you want, you leave the money, or you pay by mobile pay. Very easy.
We've arrived in Southern Jutland in the south of Denmark, an area known as the place where Scandinavia meets Europe. We're in the Wadden Sea area and I'm stood on top of a dike overlooking the marshlands. This area is of great significance and it's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
So when you're biking in this area, make sure to stop by Møgeltender, which is a beautiful street and one of Denmark's finest. We just made a stop at the Universe Science Park, a park founded by Jørgen Clausen, who's the son of Mats Clausen, who started Danfoss.
And the motivation behind the science park was to encourage people of all ages to get back into science. We've arrived on the island of Ærø, which is a short ferry ride and it's free to take your bikes. It's well worth the visit and it looks like we've brought the Danish weather with us.
When you're biking around Ærø, you can stop here at Ærø Winery for a lunch made of local products, and you can even do a wine tasting.
We'll then head up to Horsens and take our bikes island hopping and explore the area.
I'm standing on top of the uncovered bridge, built in 1899, and right under here is the Gilleleje River.
The history of the bridge is quite special because for 85 years it was covered in soil and used as a dam, but in 2014 they uncovered it and restored it to its former glory. The bridge was part of a railway line and now that it's disused it leaves us a lovely scenic bike trail to follow. This is Faengslet, a former prison which has over 150 years of prison history right up until 2006. And once you're inside you can hear the sounds and see the shadows of former inmates and prison guards. If you really want to immerse yourself in the prison experience, there's a sleeping hotel where you can stay in one of the cells. We're taking the ferry across to an island called Endelave, which is known as the Island of Wild Rabbits. It has some beautiful scenic routes and lots of small, cosy and charming villages to go and explore.
then next, let's do the Asian road that starts with the German border and goes all the way up through Denmark.
We've arrived at the Viking town of Jelling, which has some of Europe's most prominent Viking Age monuments. It's been on the World Heritage UNESCO list since 1994, and it's known as the birthplace of Denmark as a country.
Travel dudes, here's a fun fact. Did you know that the symbol of Bluetooth is actually made up of 2 different letters from the rune alphabet, which is an H and a B combined? It stands for Harald Bluetooth, who was a Viking king. You can read all about it here. The Viking heritage is still very much alive here in Jelling. You can experience it through food, through festivals, and through live storytelling.
In the beginning, there was nothing. There was warmth at one side and coldness on the other side. And in between was nothing. What the Vikings called Ginum Gagap. And there it was foggy and misty and everything. And out of nothing came Ymer, the first being in the world. He was a giant, evil. Then the second being that came to life was the cow Audhumbla. And suddenly Audhumbla lay down and started licking some stones. And where the stones came from, I don't know, the story don't tell. But when she was lying there licking, Ymer got a glimpse at her udder. So he lay down and started feeding directly on her udder. And that is how the world was created, according to the Vikings.
Thank you very much.
The perfect spot to have a scenic break or a picnic is Roerbaek Lake, which is on the ancient road and is surrounded by protected forests and beautiful scenery.
There are 13 marked hiking trails in this area, covering 49 kilometers of beautiful nature.
This is Viborg, the gateway to the ancient road, and often the start or end place for people exploring it. And it's a great place to learn about Denmark's engaging and often bloodthirsty history. From there, we'll head to the west coast and take the Danish national cycling route N1 all the way down south. This is Slettestrand in the northwest of Denmark, known for its outdoor tourism. You can explore it in many different ways, and this spot right here is known as World's End.
This area has got one of Denmark's first and best mountain biking trails. We've just reached the top of Bovbjerg Lighthouse, which is situated in the middle of the geopark of West Jutland. Here's a fun fact for you travel dudes. Usually in Denmark the lighthouse is white, but at this particular spot it is red because on that side and on that side there's a white church and it needed to stand out.
Being a part of a geopark means you get these fantastic coastlines and cliffs and landscapes that have been formed over thousands of years.
Along the west coast routes there's a lot of these seaside towns, like this one called Henne. It's a perfect place for a quick stop. We've just finished our bike trip in Denmark and we've been all over the country biking hundreds of kilometers and we've had a really great time.
Yeah, we've met some fantastic people, eaten a lot of delicious food, seen some stunning scenery, landscapes and coastlines, and we cannot wait to come back again soon.